You got to think about the big picture at times, because at other times there will be no money at play. Those are the words of a famous actor who knew since age 8 he would be on the big screen. And now he's trying his hand at the personal hair care product space. We'll explain. Talking business with Mike Colter. You're in the Enterprise Zone at the Nasdaq. Hello, everyone. It's Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes, and you're in the Enterprise Zone at the Nasdaq MarketSite. And I am joined by a special guest, Luke Cage. No, Mike Colter, man, actor. You've seen him in, again, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, The Good Wife, Evil, films like Girls Trip, Men in Black 3, and $1 Million Baby. And I heard he makes a mean crab cake. Mike, what's going on, man? I appreciate you making the trip. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, listen, I'm talking to Luke Cage, man.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal. This is great, man. It's your first time at the Nasdaq?
I have gone and I have done some, I guess, raised money for some causes, and but it was down Wall Street. So I go, it's not here, but I've been in, around. Yeah. And help some people I know here and there to try to help raise money at times.
Well, welcome back then. I appreciate it, man. Well, listen, before we jump into the business and stocks and all that stuff, how is being a girl dad? I got a 12-year-old myself. Wow. I know you're married. You got girls all in your house, man. How's the family? How's being a girl dad?
It's great, man. I got to tell you, I think I always wanted a girl. I think it's selfish because, girls take care of their dads. If you have that connection with them, it never breaks. If you treat them right, they'll be there with you until the end. There's a saying, a man who has a daughter will always eat steak. And I guess that speaks to the degree in which your daughter will always stay in your life and always take care of you and look out for you if you look out for her. And I just think it's a great bond. And obviously, we're the first people they're going to ever see in relation to being a man and what that's like. So it's a big task, but I just find it so sweet and so endearing, and I appreciate both of them so much.
Yeah, I had to change my definition of it, because when it first happened, I was a girl dad. I said, man, because the saying, they says if you get a girl, your first one, that means you were a heartbreaker. You're the ladies. So I'm like, oh, who did I break their heart? But then my uncle Kenny, he told me, he says, no, you shouldn't look at it that way. You should look at it as, God put a girl in your life because he knew you can take care of a woman, right?
Hey, any way to spin it.
Yeah, and so it's like you redefine it, man. But that's good. So the girls are fine now.
The girls are good, and they are, look, they're two sisters. I'll be honest, they do go at it sometimes because there can only be one, princesses, and I think they always want to be daddy's favorite, and I try to be as diplomatic as I can be about treating them equally, because the oldest and the youngest, I love them both, but they're so different.
Yeah, but you got to go with the one's going to feed you steak for a long time.
Well, that's the thing about it. Who was ever going to feed me steak?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You got to find out which one it is. Well, listen, man, again, we're here at the Nasdaq. So what is Mike Colter? Give me a stock. What does work well for you, something that you're interested in?
Well, I like to promote renewable energy. Honestly, I think that's the future. I think we are in a place right now where the writing's on the wall, and you have to be ahead of the curve, not just for the sake of a dollar, but for the sake of the future. So for me, in light, renewable energy is the pick of the day for me. I think it's performing well now. Sure, it can change, but I think you have to commit and put your money where your mouth is. And we talk about our daughters. We want to have a future for the planet, for us. Sustainability, renewable energy, that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, I like that, and especially since, you have all these data centers coming online, which are using a lot of energy. Renewable energy, you would think that is going to be the way.
Water we need.
That's
so
right.
we have to stand up and sort of put our money where our mouth is, like wind, solar, invest in companies that are looking to consciously make practical choices so that we can use what we naturally have and have a better planet for us, because it's about food and crop shortages, failure, all that stuff that we're concerned about as humans. It's not about the money, because big picture thinking, I mean, what's the money going to do for you once the planet's gone, right? Yeah. So I'm really invested in renewable energy, so I want everyone to sort of take a look at that.
Love it. We're ready to head into 2026, man. It's just about here. Yeah. And I always ask that soundtrack question. What has been the soundtrack to your year? What's been the music that's been keeping Mike Colter motivated, creative? Like, what's been going on?
Wow. I'm going to throw you a curve. You're going to be, you wouldn't guess this in a million years, because I listen to a lot of stuff. Anything from Prince to Wu-Tang Clan to Billy Joel to Elton John to you name it. But right now, I sort of recently discovered the Strokes album that I sort of missed because it came out during COVID. And I've always been a fan of theirs, but they had an album that came out during COVID, and I didn't think it got much attention. And I sort of been in that album called the new abnormal for a while now, sort of just on a playlist for me, and it just speaks to me. I like
Strokes.
Yeah, I got a rock and roll itch, man. I like rock and roll.
That's cool.
And
I thought you were gonna say Coldplay at first.
Coldplay. I love Coldplay.
Yes.
But I mean, literally, I have them on vinyl. I have everybody on vinyl. I have them. I have Strokes, and I love Coldplay. But in this current, play them all the time. But right now, I'm just on the Strokes because I think people don't understand rock and roll. It's like, man, keeps you upbeat, man. It's a feel-good music.
Yeah.
If I'm in the gym, a little rap, aggressive, but man, I just want to feel good, man.
Absolutely.
Rock and roll, man.
Yeah. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Is
Oh man,
favorite,
don't start with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Green Day too.
By
man. Don't
the
get me
Way
going.
album was better than the Californication, man. Don't get me started.
Yes,
We'll talk about this, man.
Dream of God. No, don't get me
Oh
started.
man, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
You walk into a 5th grade class, Mike, and they may not have seen Luke Cage, or they maybe not have seen The Good Wife, and they say, well, what do you do, Mr. Colter? What do you tell them?
Wow, I haven't been in a 5th grade class in a while, but I think if I were to go in, I wish I were doing more things that were more children friendly, kid friendly. I did some voiceover stuff for animation before, and I've done some stuff, but I really haven't done anything where my daughters can watch. And so if I were walking into a 5th grade class, even Luke Cage, it's a little adult in areas, though I do feel like a lot of parents let their kids watch it right around the 8, 9, 10, probably inappropriate, but when I meet them, it's like it's a merging of two generations, their father, their grandfather, and especially 20-year-olds, they're watching at 10. I mean, this is the wheelhouse for that demographic. So I mean, look, I tell them I am an actor first and foremost, but if they talk about Luke Cage speaks to them on a level of integrity, of bravery, and speaking to building your community. So I think it's really important that they have role models to look up to, and so it's not lost on me. I thought about it. It took me a while to understand how important it was to the young black men to see a positive black role model that was speaking to them in a way that they understood, and also they were proud of. So.
Yeah. Well, and back in 2015, you described that Luke Cage character when you said, I quote, he's a reluctant superhero because he's very private. He's on the run from a checkered past, whether he's guilty or not. He really wants to see his community improve. He wants to improve it himself. He wants to improve himself. He's a blue-collar guy.
Yeah.
What did you like most about playing Luke Cage character?
I think, the big thing for me was Cheo Hodari Coker had an idea, and his idea was sort of approaching it from a musical standpoint, the soundtrack, and I think that really spoke to people because it was that sort of timeless music. They wrote scores for all the scenes. They had a full orchestra. What he also wanted to do was, talk about the great writers of our time, like James Baldwin's, those kind of books we put into the show so people would understand, like, this guy's well-read and he's a Renaissance man. So you can always be learning at any moment in your life, and I think, you don't have to go to prison to figure that out. You don't have to have a rehabilitation of sorts that your life is falling apart for you to understand, like, every day is a moment to learn. And I always tell people, like, every day, you're literally doing something else. You should be changing in some way, shape, or form, physically doing something to make yourself better, mentally, health-wise. It's always about that. That's what keeps life fun. They tell you, travel, right? Traveling keeps you young because you're constantly engaging with something new. So life doesn't pass you by so quickly because if you start getting into a rut, you're doing things over and over, that's what it is. So I always liked that about Luke Cage. I like he escaped in books, and things like that. He found that inspirational, and I think that was something that spoke to a lot of the young black men and hopefully the girls as well.
It was one of my favorite shows, man. I was sad when it got to season 3.
No, we got to season 2. We left with a cliffhanger.
That's right.
Yeah, we got some unfinished business.
Man, are they going to bring it back at all?
There's a reboot for Daredevil, and I've been talking to Marvel, and we're having conversations.
They can't have another Luke Cage, just like you own that part.
Well, look, I mean, they
like
can have
Blade
it.
with Wesley Snipes, like that's your part.
I know, listen, anything's possible. They can always recast, and I understand that is the business. But I got some years left in me. I think I can do it some more.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a great show.
Yeah.
Dude, is that what people call you, like when they're walking around the airport? So they say, "Hey, you're Luke Cage," because I'll call around to people all the time and say, "Hey, I got Mike Colter coming." I says, "Who?"
Yeah.
Who? I said, man, Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, so I think for the black community that watches a certain kind of television and Marvel, I always switch. So I go from I think, I start on one show, I do a different, everything I do, I feel like it's different. So my fan base is spread out wide. So there are people who only know me from Evil. They only know me from like movie Plane, Girls Trip, Luke Cage, The Good Wife, They're just so when I meet my fans, I'm surprised sometimes at where they know me from. But most of them, Mike Colter. But Luke Cage, every once in a while, they'll just say it because they like to say it. But most people call me, say Mike Colter. But yeah, there's some people who just, our community, it's like you are whoever you are on television.
Absolutely, yeah.
They just call you by your character name. We, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, because for a long time, it wasn't Wesley Snipes, it was Nino Brown.
Yes, and that's Blade. And so you just have to keep on, they just eventually go, they'll call you your name, but that's what it is, Nino Brown.
Yeah. Listen, man, you're here. You're promoting some hair care products, and when I first see it, it's like, wait, we're both bald.
I know, right?
Hair care products,
I know.
But it's for your daughter, Niles and Chaz.
Yes, Niles and Chaz.
Niles and Chaz hair care products, especially for mixed textured hair. And again, you have 2 daughters that you're kind of basing this brand around.
Yeah.
Take me inside of Niles and Chaz. What motivated you guys to start a hair care product?
Well, first and foremost, look, as a bald-headed man, I have hair envy all the time, right? I see somebody with good hair, I'm like, man.
All the time,
All
man.
the time.
Like, I be thinking about going overseas. I can get my hairline back.
Listen, man, listen. I have explored. I look around, but this is my look for now. But I wish I could go to the barbershop and just sit and let me decide what I want today. Have that appointment every 10 days to get it touched up. It's a thing that I miss.
Yeah.
I like it. But so that being the case, we're fascinated. A lot of bald men are fascinated with hair. You see hairdressers, men who do women's hair, who are bald. It's just because you don't have hair doesn't mean you don't know what it takes to keep or maintain it. So my daughters have mixed textured hair, and both of them have different quality of hair, right? So we travel, my wife's from Europe, we've gone places and you can't find products. And that was something that just kept happening over and over and over. And one day, our daughter, I think it was Niles, I'm not sure if it was Niles or Chaz, said, why don't we just make our own? And it occurred to my wife, like, why not? Like she'd been in business for a while. She worked for Netflix for a while. Has good business acumen. She's working for another company now. And she thought, let's try it. Let's see first, can we engineer and find the right products that we can actually stand behind that are sustainable, that are paraben free, that are vegan, that don't have any hormone disruptors in it. Something that we would want our own children to use, because everything now you look at it, you have to be careful what you're putting in your kids' hair. So, and what were the needs that we were trying to meet? So the first launching of the product was, I think we did it around Father's Day, a little over a year. We had 4 products. One of them was a What the Frizz, which was basically a styling gel. Then we had a Hell Razor or curl razor, which is a curl enhancer. So it helps to revive the hair.
Yeah.
Then we had a detangler, which is very important because anyone with curly hair, the tangling and detangling of the hair was so important. We wanted to address that, so that's called Tangle Schmangles, and there's a little bit of okra in there for the slip. So natural products that slips helps to get the hair from detangling up, Tangle Schmangles. And then we have a scalp cleaner, or a scalp enchanter is what we call it, but that is to address the scalp treatment for women when they put their hair in those corn rolls or they put it in braids. Just before you shampoo it, you want to loosen up the dirt on the scalp, and so we made something that was very, very focused on that has charcoal in it. It works wonderfully. So we have a lot of great feedback. If you look at the website, all the people love the products. We focused on children. As you can see, it's very friendly, very connected to the children, but a lot of adults use it. So once people buy the product, they use it on their hair too, and it becomes a family product. And just recently, we launched 2 more products, and that was the shampoo and the conditioner, because people were asking, well, we love these products. When are we going to see a shampoo and conditioner? And so we did that, and we launched the shampoo, which is called Oh My Wash, and then we launched the conditioner, which is Slip Happens. So these fun names that we play with, that's what it is. It's about the children. It's also something that they are, by and large, the focal point. They come up with ideas, they have opinions, they want to be really involved as entrepreneurs, and we're trying to make something that we can sort of get them involved in, because we don't know what the future is holding. You talk about, diversifying your portfolio. Well, this is a company that we started with them. We hope that it'll be successful, that they will, venture and take it over. We want to open physical stores as well, because I think, online is fine, but I do miss, because I come from a place where in the South, my grandfather had a store. You want to see your customers. That loyalty and that thing, it's nice to have online, D2C, we have that, but I also want to open a physical store for them. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about that for them.
Yeah, the brick and mortar stores you do mention, they do bring an element of not only, I want to see it touching my hands, but it's
Yeah.
that credibility.
Yeah.
Right? I can take it back.
I can
if
take it
don't
back.
Like it, you know
exactly.
what I
You take
mean?
it
It's
back.
that-
And it's also, footpath. You're walking by. It's like
Yeah.
word of mouth. It's like, you want to see, in a big city, you want to always be consciously introducing your product to someone else. And it leaves a lasting impression to go in and touch and feel, to see interactive and have people who are salesmen who understand the product and can show you how to use it.
Yeah. What are you learning about entrepreneurship, or what are you teaching your daughters? What are they learning about it, right, as business owners?
We're learning fast. It's a lot of mistakes you can make, a lot of traps to fall into, profit margin, trying to hold fast to your beliefs in terms of renewable, sustainable, recyclable packaging, all this stuff, and also trying to, but at the expense of, so also you want to make a profit, but you want to stay true to who you are. So we're always trying to tweak things, in the packaging, trying to tweak, making sure, like, with this bamboo housing around the recyclable container that it's in, there's a pump, a spray, trigger spray that's plastic. We would like to, figure out how to replace that, but it's not something we found a solution for yet. But 95% of the packaging is renewable or recyclable.
How do you have a figure or range of how much you had to invest in out of your pocket to get this going, you and your wife?
Without hard numbers, we basically are floating. I mean, we have a small investment from other people, but we're sustaining. We're floating most of this, and so we are somewhere in a range that we feel comfortable that we can slowly build, because obviously the end game is to get into these big companies, like, these larger department stores. But we don't want to do that, because once you do that, you can sort of expose yourself too quickly, too fast. And people, you can start at any level. I guess on the small side, it takes about, I say 50K just to actually create the product, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to first find the right product that you want to sell. And that's going to take a lot of time tweaking and checking to make sure this working and trying again. It's trial and error. So you have to have a little substantial amount of money just to invest to get yourself started. That's just to start seed money.
Yeah.
And then of course you have the packaging and distribution. But as soon as you find a product, once you get that, you got to get the packaging, and once you do that, then you have to distribute it. So these and at the end of the day, our product is not inexpensive, but it's a very good product. And I always tell someone, you don't buy once, you don't buy twice, you buy once, you buy right once. And I think our product speaks for itself. So I want people to always look at that, because we've talked about this. People buy the most expensive shoes, the most expensive watch, the most expensive, all these things, and the minute, especially in our community, the minute we come up with something that's for our people, hey, this is something you should try. Oh, this is expensive.
Yeah.
You didn't say that when you were going over there buying this other product that, that was not the, so I always tell people, open your mind and sort of figure out what's important and what is something that you want to invest in. And hair and beauty is where people invest in, because it's obviously not something we need, but it's something we really want. Yeah. And you and I know, if someone gave us a price tag on real hair for our head, I don't think we'd pay it. Yeah, we'd pay it.
Yeah, if they had a product was just, hey man, we could stop that thinning coming and get your hair back, I'd have invested in that immediately. Immediately.
Put me on a subscription plan.
100%.
Every day.
I might have to cancel my Netflix to do it.
We do what we have to do. Priorities, right?
Well, listen, you mentioned beauty and cosmetic and fragrance stores in the U.S. A $68 billion industry, according from data from IBIS World, and of that, hair care products make up $17 billion of that. But it goes in perfect segue to ask, how are you competing against the bigger players? So the Sepharas, the Ulta Beauties of the world, all those, the Head and Shoulders, how are you competing against them?
Well, we don't look at them as competition. Those are places we actually could also sell our product, right? Those are not, it's not competition. Those are just places that sell products like ours. We right now have a D2C, obviously, and those are a few players. There are other players, and when you invest and you have people that approach you that want to carry your product, you have to decide what the margins are and does it make sense. Expansion in places like that, what people don't realize about products like us, when you expand too quickly, you have to either sell that or you take a loss.
Yeah.
So just because the opportunity is there, I really feel like we want to build our following first, get people who actually believe in the product, make sure we have repeat buyers and subscribers to our D2C. Once we've proven that, then when it comes to getting an investor and going on a larger platform, it makes more sense. But I don't want to overgrow and grow too fast. That's a big problem, and I think people don't. Everyone wants to be. They want to be a millionaire. They want this company to be sold, and they want to make a big profit. And again, I don't think that's the smart thing. I think you got to grow slowly.
Yeah,
You got to
most
grow
definitely.
slowly.
Yeah, because if you get it into a store and you don't have the infrastructure there, now your product is sold out. You can't get orders in and
because it's their store. Once it's in there, it's up to them to give you where is your where's your product going to be displayed.
That's right.
How much are they going to put into making sure that people know where your product can be found?
Yeah.
Or is it on the bottom shelf? Is it on the top shelf? Is it eye level? Is it on the end markers of the aisles? Is it by checkout? All these things can make or break you.
Yeah, it does. And there are companies that pay big money to make sure you are at the bottom.
Yes,
and not at the eye level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's shelf space, man. Well, listen, what's it like being Mike Colter? I mean, I was listening to an interview you did, and, I have a respect for actors. I've been trying to catch up to Kevin Hart for I don't know how long, and he's just on set for 13 to 15 hours a day.
Normal.
It's hard to get it, right? And so what's it like, being you and not only being you, but having to do that 13 to 15 hours on set?
When I'm working, it is a lot. It's all in. When I'm working, it's tough. And I think, there's little time in the day, and 13 hours is 13 hours. And my weekends are precious, my time is precious. And I really enjoy what I'm doing. I love acting, and I love it. I don't look at it as work as much as it's just a joy. So I don't feel like I'm doing something that it's work. Because I've done real jobs. I've done labor. When I say acting is a real job, but because you love it, you don't feel it. You know what I mean? Like everything's a real job, but if you are invested in it, then it doesn't feel as such. For example, I've waited tables. I've worked on construction. I've done so much stuff that I didn't
ink cartridges.
want to do. Yes, sold ink cartridges. I'd call people back in the day. Call people on the phone, man. Your telemarketing. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even now, telemarketers call me. I don't have the patience, man. I'm sorry. if the number comes up and it's not something that I know, I have no time for it. So I feel for them, but that's a journey a part of the journey of my journey. I love being an actor, and I think I've been lucky also to have some downtime here and there, whether it's time that I wanted or time that I didn't want. You gotta appreciate it, because when COVID happened, we all shut down.
That's right.
When the writer's strike happened, we all shut down. And being on the go all the time, suitcase already packed, ready to go, carry on, always on the move. The minute you don't go somewhere, you almost feel like you don't know who you are. And I got 2 daughters, and they're growing up fast, 10 and 7. It goes so quickly. I go home, or I'm not home for 2 weeks. I come back and they're different. They're different, even a little bit. There's something different with the way they talk, the way they express themselves, words they're using. In a minute, it doesn't take long. So I'm blessed, I'm lucky, I'm fortunate, and I try not to complain about anything, because at the end of the day, there's so many people who have it worse than I do in terms of this business, in terms of life. I got 2 healthy girls. I'm healthy. That's really health is wealth. I find that to be more important than anything else, because you can't replace that.
That's right. Yeah. Listen, you can't replace something else either. That is your history.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. You grew up in St. Matthews, South Carolina. What was that like for you?
That's where all the dreams and the passion and the desire was born. I grew up on a dirt road. I grew up, basically, when I grew up, there was just a field in front of me. It's in my house, a field down the road. There was a pig pen, like a hog pen, where our families raised hogs. There were goats down there. We had chickens in the yard, chicken pen. My dad, they hunted deer. We chopped wood. I was a country boy. I was a country boy, and I had dreams of leaving that small town. And my mother once went to New York City and planned to stay. Her mother got sick, she moved back, and she ended up marrying my dad and never left. But her dream was to be an actress. She wanted to be an actress. She had this desire. So I sort of attached to that as the youngest, wanting to sort of connect with my mother and wanting to do something that I felt she would be proud of. And that was my initial, sort of connection to wanting to be in this business. I got lucky. Growing up in the South, there's a lot that can be said about it, and I always say 2 things can be true at once. I always tell people, I can tell you my story, and then I can tell you the story of someone else, because I understand what it's like to be them in terms of what I've seen. Because just because someone's treating me well doesn't mean that the place I grew up was hunky-dory, right? We had a Confederate flag growing on our state house for, oh my God, probably 15 years ago, something like that. But I was lucky I was around teachers that supported me, believed in me, white and black. They were always had high hopes for me, always treated me with respect. But I also came from a family that had a good reputation. So I always saw myself as someone who was lucky in the South, that I didn't encounter so much, racism, but it was there. It's just that I felt like I got the best situation that I could be in for those circumstances. So when I got out of there, I went north and I went to Rutgers University, and that was a wonderful smack in the face because everybody loved me to South Carolina, and then I went to Rutgers, and it was like, okay, it's time to work. You want to get a degree, you want to get a master's in acting, you got to buckle down, you got to focus. And I was young and I was naive, but they woke me up. And being from St. Matthews, I appreciated the ability to have that nurturing space in that small town where everyone sort of supported me and thought that I could do big things. And I still look at that today as probably the reason I am where I am, because no one really told me no when I was a kid. Other people have these stories of like, you're never going to be anything. At least that's what they say. I'm not sure if people say that. There's just stories
like, motivation.
Motivation, like, yeah, you never, that's not what they told you. But I look at it as people went, you can do that. I never batted an eye when I told them I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to move to Hollywood. I wanted to go to Los Angeles and New York, and I wanted to do these things. My mother supported it. No one laughed at me, even my friends. No one ever thought that I couldn't do that. I was actually voted most ambitious in my high school, my senior year. So I guess it was always sort of in the cards for me, I think.
Yeah, did they used to call you Barry White back when you were coming up?
Man, they called me everything. They called me Barry White. They called me Brian Gumble because I was doing, they called me, James Earl, John, everything you can think of.
Yeah. But that Barry White's not a bad choice.
No, it wasn't. There was nothing wrong with that, but I didn't know what it meant when it first happened. The voice changed. I didn't know what they was talking about. I didn't know why the girls were like,
Listen, it's better than they used to call me Babar. Remember the cartoon off HBO, Babar?
Wow.
Yeah, it's Jabari. I used to be called Babar.
Well, the name was begging for it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, man, he was called Barry White. That's a great thing.
I take Barry White.
Yeah, take it, man. But then you go to Benedict College again and transfer to University of South Carolina.
Yeah.
You go to Rutgers and Discovered by the Talent Agency, 2003. You get your big break in $1 Million Baby.
Yeah.
Is there a misconception about Hollywood that people just don't understand? Because you automatically see, hey, there's Mike Colter. He's on The Good Wife. He's on Netflix. Like, he must be this rich guy. Like, is there a misconception about the pay structure or just Hollywood alone?
Absolutely. Look, I'm comfortable. I make a good living. I think that, obviously living in New York and LA, you're spending your money. You're not, this is not the least expensive places to live. Tax brackets are high, and I have no problem with paying taxes. I just want the taxes to go someplace that's actually going to make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, I want my health care for my taxes.
That's right.
It's not crazy. I want a good school for my kids without paying for private schools. That's not crazy. I think the misconception is that, everyone who's on television and in films are rich. No, not true. There's a pay scale. There's also a lot of bad contracts that people sign. There's a lot of exposure, just like the music business, exposure without compensation. I've been in the business long enough to have to have not gotten paid well and to have gotten paid well. And I'm happy to have, weathered the storm. But no, every time you start out, there's always abuse and there's always a little bit of manipulation in every way and form. And you have to earn your stripes. You have to start somewhere. Everybody doesn't get paid really well right away. The misconception also is that I think Hollywood is this place where there's so much insidious behavior. There's a lot of great people in this business. And I think that those people don't get celebrated enough because the people that are really great are people that saw me and saw potential in me and pulled me up along the way and spoke highly of me. And there's also this other part that we talk about and we see on the news all the time. So I've seen both. I'm always with close proximity, and you got to remain true to who you are and hopes that you can avoid that stuff, scandals. But no one really lives in Hollywood. Hollywood is a fictitious place. There's Hollywood, and then there's Los Angeles and Southern California, and there's New York, and there's Jersey.
Yeah.
It's just a fictitious place that people talk about.
Yeah. Well, Mike, when you look at your career as a whole, again, you coming from St. Matthews, South Carolina, you don't move back after you leave, come up to Rutgers, taking chances on yourself. One of the things I respect about your career is you never gave up, right? Miss Elliott, and back in her English class, reading out Romeo and Juliet.
Miss Elliott, Miss Caldwell,
and you're
shout
getting
out.
all of that. And again, $1 Million Baby, Luke Cage, The Good Wife, Men in Black, Girls Trip. It goes on and on and on. And looking at where you started, where you got your big break, where you are, you had to describe your career in one word. What word would that be?
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable. Why unpredictable?
Because, like you said, people, like some people know me from Luke Cage, right? And some people know me from, and I see fans. I meet fans sometimes, and I'll meet 2 or 3 people, and all of them know me from something else. And those 3 people will speak highly of whatever that is, and then they're telling their friend to watch it. So I'm trying to touch different demographics because I don't want to bore myself as a performer and as an actor, and I'm always looking for a new audience because I'm looking to expand my horizons and challenge myself. I get excited when I'm going to play something that I'm not sure how I'm going to approach it. You know, like when I was doing Evil came right after Luke Cage, and people were sort of, you know, licking their wounds because Luke Cage was ending, and they really loved the show and they wanted it to continue. I thought about it. I said, you know, at some point maybe Luke Cage will come back around, but for now, what's the next thing for me? And Evil came along, and I read the pilot. The Kings were doing it, and I'd worked with them on The Good Wife and The Good Fight, and it was the first pilot I read. I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I want to find out. And I was going to play a seminarian, the person who's on his path to becoming a priest. I've never been in a Catholic church. I've never seen a black priest. I didn't know anything about the world, but I really was excited about figuring out how to portray a person who was, you know, sort of in turmoil with his own faith, and also trying to figure out what's really science and what's not, and sort of fighting his own demons. I found it completely intriguing, but I had no idea how I was going to do it. So those are the things that are exciting to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played anything that's really like me yet. So we'll see what the future holds, because I always feel like I'm just getting started every time.
Yeah, unpredictable. I love it. You know, I usually end my business conversations with the good, the great, but because, you know, you're the great Mike Colter, right?
Yeah.
Luke Cage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch it up as we end here. The difference between a good actor and a great one is the easy one, right? But what's Mike Colter's superpower?
I could probably talk to anyone, no matter what their place of origin is. I'm not talking about languages, but in terms of humanity, I can connect with people, because I always tell people, a lot of times, politically, people, when you talk about politics, people say, you know, actors, what do you know? Shut up. And I always tell people, and I stress to them, I started in a place where I had nothing, and I've ascended to a place where I'm in proximity to wealth, and I'm around people who are absurdly wealthy. And so I've seen it all. And so my power is that when you read books and you travel and you expose yourself, you understand people in a different way. And I can connect to just about anyone, no matter where they're from. And I can sort of get down to the essence of what it is and who they are and why they function the way they function. So I read people very well. And because of that, it doesn't take me long to realize, you know, whether I connect with a person and whether I can work with them or whether I want to be around them, because my circle is very small. You know, energy, expanding energy and wasting energy for me is like, it's important to protect my own energy, because I got my own issues, my own things I want to deal with.
That's right.
So I read people really well. That's a superpower for me, and it's always been that way. Within about a minute, I usually can tell you a lot about a person. And I watch everything, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that Virgo energy, but I watch everything. It's something that, you know, Virgo, shout out to Virgos, man.
Oh, yeah.
I watch everything. And sometimes it's actually annoying because it's obsessive. It's the details, you know, perfection, all that stuff. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but it's hard because you want to do things right and you always find out the faults. And so my expectations of myself and people around me sometimes are excessive. And so I've had to dial it back, what I want for myself and what I want for life, because sometimes you're just so focused on perfection, you don't get started.
That's right.
That's the scary part. People tell me, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Got to take the first step. And I tell my kids, can't be afraid to fail. If you're not afraid to fail and you're not afraid to look stupid, you will succeed eventually. That's the hardest part. The hardest part is embarrassing. You may be really, really, really bad at whatever it is, whether it's tennis. I started recently skateboarding. Why? Because I wanted to skateboard when I was a kid and I hadn't done it. I live in a neighborhood, perfectly good streets to skateboard. I'm like, I'm gonna go get a skateboard and I'm gonna do this. And man, I'm skateboarding at my age. I'm going down the street, people are looking at me like, and I love it. And I'm enjoying it. Was it scary? Sure. Archery, I'm doing, you know, I'm taking lessons shooting, playing billiards. I find activities and hobbies because I'm gonna be really bad in the beginning, but I'm gonna get better. And then once you're in it, it makes you expands the way you think and the way you feel, and gets rid of all that fear about embarrassing yourself, because you have to be willing to look like a fool to become great at anything.
That's right. Yeah, I love that, man. Forget bulletproof skin and the ability to have super strength. You can talk to anybody. That is a superpower in itself, man. I love that. Mike, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much, man. A great 2026 on the horizon for you. Please come back. Let's do this again.
Will do.
You can come to the Forbes BLK Summit, so please, we invite you down as a guest.
Okay.
You'd definitely love to do that business summit, but appreciate the time. Congratulations on the business too, man.
Thank you, man.
Definitely, absolutely.
I'm loving it. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, most definitely. Mike Colter here at the Nasdaq MarketSite, the Enterprise Zone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.